So didn't you have it on the other? So just so then it's the same thing. Just sign in and then download it. Hmm? It's probably your email. What you use the same thing all the time. What's up, people? LP the Funder here. Tanya, what's up, my dear? How are you? We're gonna hop on today and have a nice guest, very special guest today. Wonderful realtor. Once we get started, I'll let her introduce herself. She's great. Happy Valentine's Day. Shouts out to all y'all celebrating Valentine's Day. Shouts out to all the dudes who are forced to celebrate Valentine's Day. Shouts out to the dudes who could care less. Shouts out to the married men. I don't feel your pain, but I get it, bro. What's up, Bianca? Let me just bring you in here right away.
Hey, good afternoon. How are you?
Hold on one second. All right, let me, I forgot I had my earpiece on. I want to turn it off. Can you hear me?
I hear you good. Do you hear me?
Perfect. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you celebrating Valentine's Day?
I am not. I'm observing from
Are
afar.
you doing Galentine's Day?
Yes, I am. Valentine's Day. That's what all the lonely girls do. Don't you know that?
Oh my God. So I posted on my Facebook out for Lent. I'm giving up Valentine's and Galentine's Day today. I'm sacrificing.
Make sure you get anybody special something very nice, okay, for today.
I just said for Lent, I am giving up.
You're giving it up. Oh, I thought you said giving out. I'm like, what?
No, I'm giving up. For Lent, I'm sacrificing Galentine's and Valentine's Day. Well, for me, it'd be, my friend said, you should celebrate Valentine's Day?
I would love to see that.
Love it. Yeah, a bunch of men giving each other flowers. Yeah, no, I'm going to pass on that.
Okay.
Anyways, your
ready to get started?
Day is going good so far?
Very good. A little bit of running around, but very good. What about yours?
Good. It's going. It's been busy this morning. I had a few clients I had to touch base with, so it's been, in this market with so less inventory. Like, I just got a phone with a client. I've been working with them for 2 years, and they've literally been outbid 5 times over the last 4 or 5 months.
Yep. And it's crazy to still see that happening now, considering the rates are being, what they are. You're still seeing that a lot in this market. It's the high competition for these buyers, and I don't think they realize it.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. They are older couples. So if the price was 800, they were stepping in with 802. I was like, you gotta come up a little bit. Yeah,
just
I was
like, bit,
at least start 15,000 over, and then figure out, where that from there. So he was like, all right, I'll take your advice. I was like, yeah, because the realtor called me and he was like, can you talk to them? Because they don't want to believe me. Like, the 801 is not doing it. I'm like, listen.
Sometimes they got to learn the hard way,
Right.
That's hard. You got to let them go through it to make sure it doesn't happen again, right?
And so I always wondered, like from my end, I know, in this business it's a struggle when there's no inventory. Then after I ask you this question, then we'll get into our topic
Okay.
of married and home buying. But when there's so few inventory, um, how is the how do you go about creating business for yourself as a
That's
realtor?
a great question. So as a realtor, when inventory is incredibly low, I cry a little bit first, and then I go when I'm prospecting, I try to get those leads going. Even if they're not ready today, I'll get them tomorrow. It's all about, making the contact consistently.
Right,
Just
right,
trying to get that listing, whether it's an apartment listing. If you speak to a lot of agents today, they're going to say, look, man, I'm closing out my 4 rentals a month to stay afloat and just crushing it
right,
to get
right.
that listing or, move that ball with the buyer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before you go prospect, do you have wine first, or do you have you go, or you go straight to the tequila before prospecting? Is the question.
When I first started out like 4 years ago, when I was new, I was so intimidated. I was like, hell no, I'm not talking to nobody. They don't know who I am. They're going to curse me out.
Right.
They're going to tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And it happened.
Hmm.
It happened. And finally, when it happened, you know what? You take it with a grain of salt, and it's a
Right.
numbers game. You just got to keep them going.
Exactly.
Going.
On to the next.
Yeah.
That's the way you gotta look at it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into our married and home buying little talk. So on my end, there's always a separate thing of concern. Whenever I'm dealing with married couples, sometimes they're both in the same accord as far as
Yeah.
finances. Sometimes they're on two different planets,
Yep.
right? And I have to kind of navigate that. Just tell me like how you dealt with it if you have an experience
Yeah.
like that with a
Yes,
husband and wife
absolutely.
with two different as far as wants and needs.
So the number one thing that I do is I sit them down together at all times. When we're communicating, it's never one-on-one. It's always with the spouse together. I find that even if it's via text and we're in a group chat or whatever the case may be, it's vital to make sure that they're both getting the same message. And, you might speak to the missus and say one thing, and she might totally say something different to her husband. So to eliminate any kind of issues long term, I just like to always always communicate with them together. I feel like that eliminates about 75% of the problems.
Okay.
Long term. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Do you find that? So I try to do the same thing too, especially in the beginning process. But if I feel like there is a primary decision maker, because oftentimes there's a dominant, within every relationship, there's a dominant person. Um,
Right.
and, they're not always together at all times. If you call one. So after the first couple of meetings, I try to make sure that I communicate with both of them via email as far as discussions.
Right.
But if there needs to be a decision made, I try to go directly to the decision maker because I don't want to get involved in that. It's just time wasted when we get that. How do you deal with that?
So if there is a primary decision maker, it's safe to say I'm going to reach out to them first. If I can't get a hold of them together, ideally that's what I'm going to always go for.
Right.
If I know the bottom line is, the missus or the, husband is going to be making that final decision, and if it's a time sensitive thing, I'm going to reach out to whoever it is.
Right.
That's going to be the quick yes or the quick no.
Right. Now, so the other thing is on my end, numbers are numbers. Like they are what they are. There may be some like I don't want to spend this much. I don't want to put this much out of pocket. So, but on your end, like I've seen where maybe one spouse, I must have an island or I must have like things that really are okay for the house. But if the house doesn't have it, the house is still a great house.
Yeah.
And I've seen realtors get frustrated with that. Just give me an example of have you had that? How do you deal with that? And,
ideally, I try to get that out of them within the first consultation. The first time I'm going through that home buying process with them, I'm going to say, okay, what are your needs? What can you live without? And what is it that you're okay with if you don't have it? I have that in writings just so I, can refer to it for later and say, hey, listen, you said that if the house didn't have this, you would be okay with
Mm-hmm.
it. And I just kind of remind them that, look, it's never going to be the perfect house today in today's
Mm-hmm.
market.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not realistic. And, we got to work together as a team to kind of set those expectations initially, because I think what kills the deal long term is that little bit of pushback, long term when it comes to a property they really want, but it's totally overpriced for their
Right.
budget. And oh, what can we do? And it's just like there's not really much that we can do at this point, and you don't want to ever make them feel like they're settling for a home
Right.
at that point too. So it's always a matter of making sure that they're understanding that what they're investing in is something that's positive and it's going to help them long term.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll always say, and down the line, just do it yourself. If you really wanted that island, wait a little while, and I'm sure you'll have the space for it and the time to have it done the way that you want it, perfectly at your
Right.
liking down the line.
Right. How is it? Because first time home buyers, I feel like they go in with like Pollyanna eyes.
Oh,
They
man.
think the first one is going to be the dream home that they're never going to move out of, and it's just going to be great. How is it dealing with that first timer versus someone who has had a home in the past, and maybe they're just a growing family or they want to move to a different area, and like how is that experience for you?
Those are honestly the toughest clients that I deal with
Mm-hmm.
are the first time home buyers, because they have sometimes very unrealistic expectations when it comes to what it is that they can actually afford.
Right.
And we're going to help them, make the right investment down the line. And even potentially, if they want to sell this one and then move forward with something even nicer down the line, they don't ever want to hear that. And it's like, you kind of see like the light leave their eyes mid transaction, because they're just like, and are you sure that I couldn't get this $50,000 over asking, or like whatever the case is? Are you sure?
Right.
And I'm just like, it's totally out of your budget. Even if we did get you that property,
Right.
are you going to be able to afford that mortgage? Are
Exactly.
you going to be able to afford everything that comes with that number? And I think that they say, yeah, of course. And I've had clients call me saying, I'm dying right now. I'm the mortgage, and I'm saying, look, I told you, let's go down in price so that you can have something that's
Right.
sustainable, and you
Right.
went against it.
Right.
And then kind of
Even
have
if
your,
they approve
no,
for it,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Even if they approve for it, sometimes I
right,
get clients where you approve for something, but you should know what you feel comfortable with as far as your monthly payment, if you have a lifestyle, whatever have you. So definitely, I try to encourage clients to don't go over your budget. I'm gonna
yes,
give you the numbers as they are, um, what you're maxed out at. But if you don't feel comfortable at that max, then you know look at something where you feel comfortable, like, all right, I know I can make this payment.
exactly.
Because, specifically with first time homeowner, second time, third
Yeah,
time, they know, all right,
they're like, all right,
everything
let's,
comes with a house. I got to fix this. I got to fix that.
that's right.
I want to leave myself a buffer. With first time, they go in it thinking like renters, like, oh, I can just call the maintenance. No,
You
you're
are
maintenance.
maintenance. That's right. You're the super now,
Right?
buddy.
You're the super. You got to put the
That's
money
right.
out to get things fixed. So make sure it's something that you're comfortable with and leave yourself a little buffer so you have enough money to get things fixed, to put away, if that emergency, if that boiler breaks down in midwinter, right? Ain't no calling Mr. Bookman. You are Mr. Bookman, so you got to figure it out, right?
Right, that's right. And I always talk about those expenses, the expenses of a boiler
Mm-hmm.
going out. You need a new roof that you don't, so a lot of these things aren't always detected
Right.
on that home
Right.
inspection.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these things happen when inclement weather comes around, and now you're noticing that leak that was never there, that was painted over, because that's what, let's be real, that's what a lot
Right.
of these sellers do. That's what a lot of
Yep.
people do. They're going to paint over any indication that there's something wrong. We're not talking about it, and I get it. I totally get it.
Absolutely.
But at that point, you want to make sure that aside from your down payment and aside from your closing cost, you have a backup plan for funds. And I don't think that a lot of buyers ever have that extra income.
No, and I don't think they account for it either. Like, I used to, well, I still am, but I used to do financial planning. And especially with my people that were looking to buy a home, I'm like, things come up with buying a home, whether it's plumbing, whether it's lighting, whether you had a flood, and now you got to buy a water pump to get it out. Like,
Yep.
things come up month to month, day to day that you have to be prepared for. You have to have that separate bank account specifically
Exactly.
for emergencies. And with new homeowners, they don't really, like, it doesn't process to them until they get to that point where, you know, things hit the fan, and now they got to figure out where they're going to get money from.
Exactly.
And they're calling me for a refinance for $10,000 because, like,
Yeah.
yo,
I know.
not a good
It's
reason to
so sad. I
refinance.
hate to say it, but you know, you try to prepare them the best that you can,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the way that you spend money and the way that I spend money are probably two
Right.
totally different things. So you also have to work into account, you know, we don't know what our clients' spending habits are. We don't know. Yeah, they have the income, they have the down payment, but when the time comes and like you said, when things hit the fan, are they going to be okay? Are they going to still be satisfied with this purchase? And that to me is like the bottom line, because I won't talk someone into doing something unless everything fits for them, you know?
Absolutely. And listen, specifically with married couples, like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big man cave guy.
Okay.
Like, I need, but you know, and I'm sure you need your
I have
walk-in
my
closet.
girl space. Absolutely.
Exactly.
It's so important.
So
It's so important.
when you're dealing with married couples and they're like, there's like a third bedroom, he's like, yeah, this is my game room. And she's like,
right.
yeah,
She's
nah,
like,
man.
yeah, no, that's a guest room. Sorry. I always say, look, use the basement if you can, of course, as your man cave.
Right.
Do your thing, but leave the top for the missus. Let her make it feel like home. Let her do her thing, and it'll always be pleasant. You'll never have
Listen,
problems.
here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. The entire house is for the woman. Like, the man could care less about decorations. He could use his college couch in his new home with his wife.
Yeah.
He could care less. He just needs a little small slither of a space to call his own for the game, maybe a beer and his boys.
Right.
And if we don't have a basement, we got to look at other.
Yeah.
We got to look at other things.
Yeah.
Just give us something, just a little, you know, just something.
I don't know. That one's a tough call. That one's a tough call because I've actually taken out clients, and it wasn't like a man cave. It was a elderly couple. They were purchasing, and they also had a son. The son wasn't living with them, but the son was like, "Listen, I need my own space whenever I go there." The guy was like in his 40s, just so you know.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
I need this to be a full finished walkout basement just in case. I'm like, just in case what? You need to move back. I didn't say that, of course. But I'm like, just in case what? Do you need a man cave in your elderly parents' home right now?
I feel like he was on the verge of divorce, knew where it was going, and was like, let me get that.
Probably. I mean, you know, I didn't pry or anything, but he was
like,
very committed to that idea.
My wife is 2 days away from kicking me out. I just need some place for my own. So when that day comes,
right.
I'm okay.
You're probably right. He was like, listen, they need something with a basement, full finished. And I'm like, this guy came into the picture like 3 houses already shown, by the way. I had no idea he was even like
he exists
something to consider.
Right. You're like, you got a son? What?
I was like, what? Okay.
Now how do you oh my god, that when people bring in a third party that has nothing with it, I'm like, what are we doing right now? Like, where are we going with this? Because you're wasting my time right now.
Yeah, sometimes that can be a real deal breaker.
Oh my god. And listen, I've fired clients for that. Like, sometimes you have to fire a client, right? You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste their time. And if there's someone who's a third party who has like important input, right? And their input is affecting the people that you're working with, like that can drag on forever.
I've been there.
And eventually what'll happen is, oh no, they'll go, oh no, I got a friend, some guy that works in his garage that does it. And now you wasted 3 months for nothing.
Exactly. And I hate to say this, but that was something that happened to me quite often, like my first 2 years. And then I'm getting a phone call from my client saying, hey, so my cousin, who's also in the business in Pennsylvania says XYZ, maybe I should wait. And I'm like, okay.
Right.
At that point, you can't argue, your skill. You can't argue what you
Right.
have to offer.
Right.
When you got to walk, and it sucks.
Absolutely. I
Worse.
totally agree.
Worse.
So listen, we're almost, and do me a favor, I should have did this at the first. Give your bio. I totally forgot. We got right into the Valentine's Day and Galentine's
No problem.
Day.
Okay. So I'm Bianca Correa.
Mm-hmm.
I am bilingual. I speak Spanish fluently, just in case you have anybody out there. I'm with HomeSmart Cross Island. I'm 4 years in the game now. I've been with HomeSmart Cross Island going on 2 years very soon. And yeah, I help with anything from selling to buying to renting needs. I'm pretty much here for all of it.
What are your primary areas that you work out of?
So primarily recently, I've been covering a lot of the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. I did mention to you briefly that I do tap into Westchester occasionally if I get the client that's looking, or whatever the case may be. And I also cover Orange County as well.
Okay. Wonderful. What's your ideal client?
That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I think an ideal client, I don't want to say that there's ever an ideal client. I like to believe I can help everyone and anyone that comes across, but that's not realistic. But my ideal client would have to be someone who's receptive, someone who always has an open line of communication. I'm not saying, have the phone ready 24 hours, but when things are important, I just want to make sure there's always that open line of communication. So ideal client, someone who can communicate effectively, and someone who's receptive.
Absolutely.
I'm not picky.
Absolutely. Great. Listen, Bianca, definitely any open houses coming up, send it to us. We'll definitely share with the forum. Thank you so much for taking. See, it was fun. It was quick.
Fun.
I didn't take too much of your time.
I was nervous. I was like, oh man, what am I going to talk about?
No. We make it run smoothly. But thank you for your time. Please check Bianca out in HomeSmart. She is a great realtor. She does a great job, and she definitely works hard for her clients. For all those who joined us, thank you so much. This is Open House Wednesdays, Married and Home Buying. Please let the man have his man cave. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Take care.
Later.